They aren't just mascots. They are cult leaders, here to indoctrinate youth into the world of sugar crashes and hidden treasures. They want your money, sure, but that's not all. They want your loyalty, your trust, all before you've developed a frontal lobe. This is the story of the cereal mascot wars. It begins in 1863 with a man named James Caleb Jackson. Religious, vegetarian, and deeply suspicious of flavour. He creates granular, a graham flour brick so hard it needs to be soaked overnight. It isn't food, it's judgment in a bowl. John Harvey Kellogg steals the idea, renames it granola, and pushes it through his health spa empire. But it is his younger brother, Will Keith, who commits the original sin. He adds sugar. Cornflakes is born. One of his former patients, C.W. Post, copies the formula with grape nuts, a cereal with no grapes, no nuts, and no shame. Throughout the early 1900s, the world is gifted with boxed grains that vary between bland and modestly sweet, puffed rice, shredded Ralston, and the iconic Wheaties, the breakfast of champions. Kids eat the stuff like it's magic. Parents buy it like it's medicine. It is neither. Rice Krispies arrives soon after, armed with 3 mascots named for the sounds the cereal makes: Snap, Crackle, and Pop. They are cheery, they are haunting, they are everywhere. In the 1940s, Cheerios, originally Cheery Oats, offer the illusion of neutrality. Round, plain, friendly. They become the best-selling cereal in America, not because they're loud, but because they're everywhere and simple to market. The 1950s arrive. Television happens. Lucy begins stuffing chocolate into her shirt. Sugar is no longer an ingredient, it's a lifestyle. And so it begins. Breakfast starts to become the first media empire children ever pledge allegiance to. From 1960 to 2005, and even now in mutated form, Western civilization runs on a quiet campaign of manipulation, mind control, and marshmallow charm. Every Saturday morning, the front lines light up. Animated barrages between hyperactive cartoon creatures, shouting, spinning, and frolicking. It begins in the kitchens of Post, Kellogg's, and General Mills. Strategists huddle to discuss psychological warfare. What animal implants a product preference most efficiently into the mind of a 6-year-old? What shape of puff triggers the most joy? How many spoonfuls before the dopamine kicks in? The answers manifest in the form of cartoon avatars, warlords in bright colours, unearned confidence, and unhinged personalities that should give them a one-way trip to solitary confinement. These leaders begin primitively. Enter Crinkles the Clown, for example. A pale spectre in grease paint and dead eyes, advertising sugar rice crinkles. He doesn't pitch cereal, he is practically begging unsuspected children to make a purchase. He appears in black and white, yet somehow feels more violent than colour will ever allow. Then comes Sugar Bear in the 1960s. Cool, calm, and deeply unsettling. He croons like Dean Martin with a glycemic index. Can't get enough of that sugar crisp, he sings seductively. He isn't excited, he is strangely relaxed for someone who breaks into poor Granny's home for her cereal on a regular basis. No matter where she goes, be it the ocean or outer space, Sugar Bear will always find a way. He is an unstoppable, near-omnipotent force of nature, and he is eerily unbothered by the power he wields. Imagine if those kinds of abilities were bestowed upon children. Sugar Bear is one of the first to blur the lines between mascot and addict. He is a case study for the horrors to come. The Freakies arrive. Disgusting, rubbery goblins from a cereal of the same name. It is difficult not to see them for what they truly are, a cult. Each one has a name and a job. They live in a tree, commune style, spreading the gospel of puffed corn. Quisp, an alien with a propeller on his head, beams down from space to evangelize his crunchy saucers. He battles Quake, his underground rival, in a public cereal election. Democracy weaponized in a cereal aisle, radicalizing children to pick a side and discard all nuance. Mascots begin to forge a stranglehold on society throughout the years. You wake up, you pour a bowl, you stare into the vacant pupils of Crinkles the Clown, and you smile. Because he told you to. The 1990s roll around and food mascots become more powerful than ever, and even greater in number. Each one with its own doctrine, its own rituals and philosophies, its own emotionally compromised leader, broadcasting orders through Saturday morning airwaves. One of the more tragic of the bunch is one you'll all likely know well, the Trix rabbit, an insurgent figure broken by years of denial, rejected, ridiculed, gaslit by children who chant his disempowerment like a hymn. Silly rabbit, tricks are for kids. And he believes them. He tries again and again to prove himself worthy of his own product. But every plot fails, and we laugh. We laugh while chewing, because that's what we're taught to do. Consume joy and mock anyone who can't. Use others' suffering to feed our own sense of superiority. Then there's Lucky the leprechaun, paranoid, twitchy, and forever on the run. He is something of a magical hoarder, obsessed with stashing his mystical marshmallow artifacts away from the grasp of impoverished cartoon children. He insists they're magically delicious, though no one knows what magic he means. To him, scarcity is salvation. To us, it's a lesson. Want what you can't have. Chase it forever. Make it part of your identity, lest you never truly be happy. Is Lucky real, or is he just a glowing machination designed to sell us on the illusion of rarity, to instill the eternal pursuit of luxury within us? Either way, the charms remain just out of reach, and so does satisfaction with one's life. Another poor soul, Sonny, the cuckoo bird, a prophet of addiction, feathered and unwell. He doesn't like Cocoa Puffs, he needs them. His catchphrase, "I'm cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs," isn't branding, it's a cry for help. He twitches, he spasms, he loses all grasp of reality in a cycle of craving and collapse, and the children love him for it. We're taught that compulsive behaviour is endearing, even funny. Then, looming in the fog of nautical falsehood, we find Horatio Magellan Crunch, aka Captain Crunch. He is no captain. He clearly doesn't even know how to spell the word. The military has likely never heard of him. His naval authority is fabricated. But that hasn't stopped him from commanding fleets. Peanut Butter Crunch. Oops. All berries. The entire Crunch Empire. His ship is armed with variants. His smile is a disguise. This is a regime control via flavour. His ability to crunchitize is nothing short of terrifying. Yet children eat it up. Literally. Of course, we haven't forgotten about arguably the most iconic of all, Anthony, or as he's better known, Tony the Tiger. This bugger is just a bit too perfect, isn't he? He tells you you're great, always with that same glowing warmth. He never falters, never doubts. He is toxic positivity in himbo feline form, a psyop of praise. We eat Frosted Flakes not for taste, but for validation, because Tony sees you, he believes in you, even if your grades slip, even if your parents are getting a divorce, Tony still approves. But why does he know your name? Why does he always show up right when you need a win? Who programmed this tiger to care? Beyond the main players of the cereal aisle lie the fractured remnants of fallen corn and oat nations, disgraced, discarded, or defeated in rebrands. These are the forgotten leaders, those who failed to have a stranglehold on the squishy minds of adolescents. The crazy craving for honeycomb is not a mascot so much as a problem. A feral cryptid who destroys furniture for cereal. His hunger is a warning of what happens when desire is allowed to rot. What does this rascal have to do with honey? It remains a mystery to this day. The Cookie Crook and Chip the Dog. The Crook is a failure in motion, a mustachioed cereal addict whose every waking moment is spent chasing Cookie Crisp and losing it. His life is a looping punishment, desire without reward, crime without payoff. Chip, the loyal dog, is torn. He helps the Crook, then betrays him, then replaces him. Eventually, the cereal box drops the man entirely. No trial, no goodbye, just the dog, smiling where his partner once stood. That is, until 2005, when Chip the Wolf takes over forever. It looks like years of cookie-stealing charges have finally caught up to Chip the Dog, as he still remains behind bars and will likely remain there for the rest of his years, alongside the Hamburglar. And deep within the chaos of it all, the Applejack's Civil War. Apple, cinnamon. One sounds like a mobster, the other is inexplicably Jamaican. They fight for no reason other than pride. No one knows why they're enemies. Their conflict teaches nothing, and perhaps that is the lesson. Successful or defunct, these characters are doctrines, rituals disguised as jingles, cults dressed in bright colours, whispering promises through commercials and cardboard. They ask only for your allegiance, and you give it freely, every morning, with cold milk and a plastic spoon. Long before you understand politics or power, you're being trained. Not by governments, but by corporations. Not with flags or manifestos, but with glossy boxes and jingles designed by teams of child psychologists. It begins with the box. You think it's a game, something to distract you while your cereal goes soggy. But the mazes, riddles, and help the mascot activities are training exercises. Captain Crunch needs you to navigate the archipelago of flavour. Count Chocula makes you escape a spooky castle. Lucky asks you to draw the path of escape from children who want to strip him of his marshmallows. This is branded problem solving. Repetition with narrative reinforcement. You are learning to follow orders, to solve problems for the mascot, and to internalize their goals as your own. It's disguised as fun, but it is conditioning. Then come the commercials, not standalone ads, but serialized propaganda, drip-fed in 30-second episodes of lore. The Trix rabbit hatches another plan, only to be denied. Lucky escapes again, barely. Sunny spirals into cocoa-induced mania, clawing at his own mind and poisoning the bird society he inhabits with mass hysteria. You tune in not because you care, but because you need to know what happens next. The mascots don't evolve, but you do, subtly aligning with their wants, their fears, their obsessive attachments. It's mythology in the shape of a snack. But ideology alone isn't enough. It needs rewards. So come the prizes. Plastic rings, stickers, spoon lightsabers, Spider-Man trading cards, decoder kits. Fruit Loops hands out fake tattoos. Cookie Crisp sends you personalised ID cards to flee the country if you mail in 5 box tops. Your loyalty is rewarded. A direct line is drawn between obedience and pleasure. This is operant conditioning, shrink-wrapped and sugar-dusted. Pavlov would be proud. And then, just as you think it's over and you are finally enough, think again. The indoctrination moves online. Millsberry, Postopia, web games tied to cereal brands. They are corporate nation-states. In Millsberry, you create a digital identity. You eat, you shop, you decorate. But everything from income to status is tied to cereal. Imagine a world where Elon Musk has a net worth of 411 billion Reese's Puffs. That is the kind of society General Mills envisions. In Postopia, you're offered games with unlockable levels, but access is gated. You need codes. The codes? Why, they are printed on cereal boxes. Your entertainment becomes dependent on consumption. Your online avatar thrives only when your parents make the correct grocery decisions. The indoctrination seems to be a success, given that in 2020 we find hordes of Zillennials petitioning for the return of the long-lost civilization of Millsberry. And at the centre of every platform, every message, every product, stand the mascots. Each mascot is a vector for toxic behaviour, a deadly sin, a story-shaped scalpel carving neural grooves into your developing brain. If your classmates don't choose the correct faction, they are ostracised. And heaven forbid you choose a lowly mascotless brand like Special K or Kix. I shudder at the thought. You don't know it, but you are learning to trust systems, to obey stories, to link product to personality. And by the time you realise what's happened, you're already drowning in student loans, mindlessly swiping on dating apps, and deeply missing the days when you could hang out with Xander in Millsberry. By the early 2010s, the ground starts to shift, quietly at first, just a tremor in the cultural mood. Sugar, once a trusted ally, begins to show its true form. Studies link it to obesity, disease, to doom. You see, fat was once seen as the ultimate enemy, but times have changed. The cereal conglomerates, once untouchable, find themselves under siege from public health officials, from concerned parents, from bloggers with salad-coloured infographics. Michelle Obama launches the Let's Move campaign, an initiative for kids to eat healthier food. Suddenly, it's not cool to eat chocolate for breakfast. Well, it still is for the kids. They'll eat flaming hot Cheetos at 7 in the morning if you let them. But now, with these new initiatives, they're getting some real pushback for the first time. Companies try to highlight the artificially added vitamins in each bowl, the whole grains, the minerals, even the protein. The idea of cereal merely being a part of a complete breakfast rather than the entire meal is emphasized more than ever before. Trix reverts from fun fruity shapes to colourful yet dreary spheres. Sugar is quietly reduced. QR codes lead not to a flash game utopia, but to a gluten sensitivity disclosure. The beloved cartoon cult leaders are still present, but quieted, less abrasive. The mascots aren't killed. That would be too messy, you see. No, they are slowly sedated. Their psychosis is tapered, as hidden as the nutrients that are concealed beneath the red 40. Their eyes re-illustrated to remove the glint. Just look at what they've done to poor Toucan Sam. He followed his nose straight to oblivion. What's more, healthier alternatives take over. Nature's Path, Purely Elizabeth, Magic Spoon. Not nearly as addictive, but also not nearly as fun for kids. It is unlikely that we will be seeing man-riding octopus or realistic panda making waves in the zeitgeist anytime soon. The cult is gone. In boardrooms, execs reframe it as modernization, brand refreshes. But in truth, it's a mass demobilization. The end of cartoon nation states, the disbanding of the sugary militias. And the children, they don't even know it happened. They sip almond milk. They eat overnight oats. They never meet Crinkle the Clown, or crave a login to Postopia, or decode a ring pulled from the wreckage of a Chex box. They are bored, but they are free. You thought the war was over, but the battlefield just moved. We no longer need Saturday morning cartoons. They're extinct now. Fossils embedded with commercials and jingles. Instead, the screen never turns off. It's always waiting, always recruiting, in your pocket and on your wrists. The mascots may not be the leaders they once were, but the tactics remain. The need to rally, to polarize, to weaponize joy. That's eternal. Because we haven't outgrown cereal faction logic, we've just rebranded it. Today, we over-personify everything. Brands are no longer faceless. They flirt, they meme, they spiral. Duolingo posts thirst traps for attention. The Wendy's Twitter account roasts the weak. The green M&M gets a rebrand and sparks a political culture war. We've come to expect full mythologies from our products. We demand lore, character arcs and cinematic universes. We want to belong to something. Fandoms, they're just cereal factions with hashtags. Swifties, BTS Army, Marvel fanboys, Reddit bros. Everyone's recruited. Everyone's trained. Everyone has talking points. The kids who once bought boxes upon boxes of cereal for the exact prize they wanted or that exact download code they needed to play a minigame online are now getting into mountains of credit card debt for Labubu blind boxes, Pokemon cards and Stanley Cups. Everything must be personalised and collections must expand at all costs. Meanwhile, cereal itself mutates into something that could only exist in the current state of late-stage capitalism. Mascots now drift into social media posts and ironic YouTube ads. They collaborate with snack foods, shoe brands, and NFT drops. Lucky Charms pancakes, Cinnamon Toast Crunch popcorn, Fruity Pebbles oatmeal, ice creams, gummies, you name it. It seems as though cereal has decided to fully embrace its sugar-laden origins and become the very thing it pretended not to be, but truly was all along: dessert. And the collaborations for the cereal itself, they are utterly unhinged, to say the least. Sour Patch Kids cereal, Wendy's Frosty cereal, Little Debbie, Dunkin' Donuts, Jolly Rancher, Kit Kat. Not only are cereals becoming desserts, but desserts are becoming cereal. A true full circle moment. Cereal is no longer food, nor a series of cults. It is performance art. An edible cry for relevance, always upping the ante, going bigger and more absurd with each new limited edition. We need a way for Tony the Tiger to stay relevant and Instagrammable. So how about some pumpkin spice frosted flakes? Nostalgia is weaponized, boxed and monetized. Retro designs promise to give you your childhood back, then quietly update the ingredients and double the price. The irony, of course, is that we believe we've matured. We think we've grown out of battles during recess over which cereal was best, but our loyalty just migrated. We don't argue over marshmallows and flavour dust. We argue over streaming services, video game console exclusives, the best rap artist. The mascots have evolved, but their original blueprints live on in TikTok influencers, corporate meme accounts, and marketing strategies that start grooming future consumers at age 4. And so we scroll, we subscribe, we, as they say, stan. Because once, long ago, we chewed our ideology in spoonfuls, and now we stream it. We didn't grow out of cereal loyalty, we just switched the boxes.